We are under the lights, and it's the best time of year. High school football playoffs are heating up. In some states, we're already the state semifinals. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, the thick of things, and we're seeing who the best teams across the country are remaining. Last one standing, and it's just getting good, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about Georgia, Florida, Texas today. Ben Spicer, Drew Johnson, and Mark Henry, joined by our special guest, Unlike Your Game, CJ Gilbert, who's going to be talking a little bit about Alabama, where, as we mentioned, as we alluded to, they are already in the state semifinals. So CJ's down to those final four teams in his state, and we wanted to bring him on to talk about some playoff standouts, bring him back to discuss maybe his top 5 teams list, and we're excited. So, CJ, we'll give you the floor. Just kind of tell us a little bit about how the last couple weeks have been going for you and what you're expecting over these next 2.
Yeah, man. First of all, I appreciate you guys for having me on. I know it's been maybe a couple weeks since I've been on, maybe a month or so. But yeah, we're right in the thick of things. We just had quarterfinal matchups. 7A right now is they're in their finals. So basically, we'll play at Protective Stadium. That's UAB's place down in Birmingham, and we'll have it from December 4th through the 6th. So that's we'll start that Wednesday and end on that Friday. So, I mean, right now in 7A, we have a rematch from last year, Thompson versus Central Phoenix City. If you know the name Cam Coleman, he balled out last night in the Auburn game against Texas A&M. So this team is still stacked, though. They have Dalen Upshaw, a class 2025 receiver. That is, one of those names that, he's played in our circuits before in 24K. So he's actually a baller that's been in one of our circuits that I've got a chance to know over the couple of years. He did his thing as far as, last year. He got a couple touchdowns called back, but he's really stepped up to the plate. And Thompson's going to be a legitimate test. They have, a couple stars on their team as well, being, Anquan Fagans, who's played on Coast Athletics. They have a 5-star edge, Jared Smith, as well. But this defense is very gritty. It's going to be a great game, great rematch, and both of these teams has kind of hit their stride. Thompson defeated Enterprise, who had a couple 4 and 5 stars on their team, beat them soundly 31-7, and then Central Phoenix City, they got the win over Hoover. I know earlier in the season, Hoover was kind of going through some turmoil, but I felt like their Coach English, he kind of rectified the problems and got the ship going the right way, rather. And it was an intriguing season for the Hoover Bucks, but they ultimately fell to Central Phoenix City in the semifinals. So 7A is going to be a really good one. Can't wait to watch it. It's going to be kind of like our coming out party for Protective, because I don't know if you guys know this, but since the playoffs kind of expanded, Alabama and Auburn are no longer hosting championship games because of the college football expansion. So we're kind of looking for different, places to play right now, venues to play. So South Alabama's been a one that's come up with choice. Down there, Alabama State has been a choice. And then, of course, Protective Stadium in Birmingham. But right now, our Super Sevens is going to be held in Birmingham.
Yeah, CJ, really quick, let me ask you something, brother, because these past few weeks, I don't put out a couple or a few national posts with, putting the spotlight on some of these stat leaders around the country. And a few of them have been from the state of Alabama, you know what I mean? So I want to hear from you, brother, for people that don't know, what's up with some of these playoff studs or maybe some of these under the radar guys in Alabama that needs the spotlight, brother?
Man, look, I'll come off the top because literally a 6A stud receiver that you guys need to know about. He's going to be one of the hottest names. Should be one of the hottest names going forward in his high school career. Jalen Taylor, class 2026 receiver, man. I think he is either top 3 in receiving yards, and I know for sure he had a 4-touchdown performance against Fort Payne group that was kind of feisty. He had 180 yards, 4-touchdown performance. He really did his thing, man. I really like him a lot. Like, very humble kid. If I can get him to go into some circuits, he's gonna be legit. Like, he's gonna be a guy that y'all gonna be like, man, he's the basketball kid too. Like, he plays both sports. He plays a lot of different sports. So very athletic. I think he's in the range of being like 6'1", 6'2". maybe 180 so pounds, right in a good mix as far as like having good body style. He can blow over the top of you. You know what I'm saying? He's a security blanket for his guys as well. But definitely he's a name that sticks out to me, where he's going to be one of those guys where he can definitely bust into the scene. Has 3 offers: UNA, JSU, and I believe he has Sanford, if I'm not mistaken. But I know he just got JSU, Jacksonville State University, like literally yesterday. So he's kind of on the come up. Some more guys, some underrated guys. I feel like you guys are never going to hear this anywhere else, but it's this guy named Ty Jones. He's a linebacker. He had a couple D1 offers, D2 offers as well, but he plays for a 4A school in West Morgan, Trinity, Alabama. The school is called West Morgan. He's been playing both sides of the ball. He kind of lines up as that flanker receiver, kind of getting things on the backside, and he plays pretty much everything that the Rebels really need them to do. He's a thumper. He's a linebacker, and like I said, he can score at tight end. He can line up at flanker as well. And I think his level of play has been the reason why West Morgan is, potentially going to be in the 4A finals. This in the semis this year. This is their first time in program history being in the semifinals, and they get it. The cool thing about it is they get to play the team that put them out of the playoffs in the quarterfinals last year, Cherokee County. So Cherokee County has went back-to-back times and lost in the finals, but West Morgan is one of those teams where they're going to have to get through those guys to get to the finals again. It's going to be great. But as far as anybody else, man, those are the 2 that really stick up to my mind. I guess some more top-notch guys that's in the state. Mason Mims, quarterback for Oxford. He's a Louisville commit. So he's one of those guys where, I'm about to say, Ben, that's in your area right there. But Louisville commit, class 2025 quarterback. He's been committed for the last year and a half now. Like I said, he's throwing the guys, like I said before, Jalen Taylor, Nick Richardson, DK Wilson, Caleb Wynn. He's throwing to a plethora of guys. Oxford is definitely a team that you guys need to know about as far as like Alabama. I know that you guys probably know about the Hoovers, the Thompsons, getting to know about Central Phoenix City, stuff like that. So yeah, that's really about it as far as, top-notch talent that's been playing up to code that I feel like right now. We still got, another week of ball left, but, before we get to the championships. But that's really the guys that stick to my mind.
CJ, this year in Alabama, who's been a surprise team to make it this far to the semifinals? Who's a team that you guys have seen that's really like caught your attention, and you look up and these guys are in the semifinals?
Man, like I said before, 7A this past week, Hoover got to the semifinals. There was a very surprised team. Like, I don't think people understood kind of like what they was going through. They had kind of some coaching changes where they had to really their coach had to resign on the fly because of some underlying issues. And basically that was kind of like last year that coach had took Clay Chalkville to the championship where he had Jalen Mbakwe, Mario Craver, DJ Barber, all those teams. So they end up beating Saraland, who had Ryan Williams, KJ Lacey, all those guys. By the way, KJ Lacey's been balling out too. I literally had him on our live last Texas guy. He balled out, man, against a Spain Park team that had a really good offense. So I mean, shout out to KJ Lacey. He was on our live yesterday. But Hoover on the other hand really surprised me in 7A. I can go down the list for you guys from 7 to 1A if that makes it better. But yeah, Hoover's definitely a team just because of how much they had to go through with just, the coaching shifts and literally getting guys transferring in, kind of getting those guys gelled in. I feel like they kind of did a lot of good of gelling together down the stretch, and they beat some really good teams. They beat like Opelika, Sound, like in triple overtime. Like if you go down their list of teams that they beat, they beat teams when it counted, like as far as triple overtime performances, blowout performances when nobody expected them to blow them out. So I think that's a really good testament to what that coach was able to do for the time being. 6A though, I think 6A, I'm more surprised. Let me get to it real quick for you guys. I think 6A for, the semifinals, I would say out of the 4 teams in the semifinals, I would say Pike Road. They're a team right out of Montgomery. Like, they're kind of like in that, the area of Montgomery. They defeated a tough Hueytown group 11-8. And like I said, out of the 4 teams, I for sure thought Oxford was going to be there. I for sure thought Parker was going to be there because of, Naeem Alford and the guys that they got on that team. They got a lot of different studs on that defensive side of the ball. I felt like Saraland was going to be there, but Pike Road was a team that I felt like struggled out the gate. They got a class 2026 running back, Jermichael Jones, that's been toting rock. Jordan Holmes, 3-star running back, kind of athlete guy, that's been filling in at quarterback some. They've been doing kind of like this Wildcat deal. And I'm really surprised with how well they've been executing, because they have a coach that's pretty new to Pike Road too. So I'm surprised with how Pike Road has, come this far, because honestly, I thought they were going to be really good, but when they kind of started out slow, I was more of, worried how far they would actually get, because I was like, they're gonna have to see a really good South Alabama team. As far as 5A though, we got Catholic Montgomery, who won 4A last year. Viger, who has won 4A, I think 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Moody, which is a hype program. They have, a 3-star quarterback, Charlie Johnston, that's committed to Georgia Southern. They got a stud receiver, no stars yet, more of an underrated guy, Josiah Dozier. His cousin actually plays ball at Arkansas. And his last name is Dozier as well. But ultimately, I felt like the team that I didn't know that was going to be here is Leeds, and that's Moody's rival. So they actually got to play a rival in the state semifinals. So it's going to be a fun matchup. Moody actually beat Leeds earlier in the season. And like I said, this game is going to be electric, but I didn't expect Leeds to, be here at this particular moment because of how they were playing earlier in the season as well. So I think that's a team that's kind of a surprise for me in the semifinals. But it's been some good ball, man. Like I said, some of these teams that have been here before, I've seen over the course of, the last, 4 or 5 years that I've been, covering the state semifinals and covering the finals and stuff like that. So it's really not really that many surprises, even with the teams I've said, because I've just seen them so many times. But yeah, that's for big ball. And like I said, I'll kind of let it breathe real quick so you guys can ask me questions.
I do. I just have one more question for you, because we had you on, like you said, about a month or so ago. We put you on the spot, asked you the top 5 teams in Alabama, and I was just curious, how did that stack up? Did you get them all right? Is there any revisions you need to make? And how did that kind of play out for you?
Oh, man. 7A did not go as planned. I thought Auburn was going to be the best team in 7A football. I've been sticking with them since the spring, but they got beat by Thompson. Thompson's kind of like the juggernaut. They're kind of like the new Hoover. Like they're what Hoover was when we had Coach Prost there and they was doing two-a-days and all that type of stuff. Like, it's Coach Freeman's show. Like, that's what the Thompson Warriors do. So they beat them in the quarterfinals, and I literally took a lot of heat for it, because I mean, when I made the pick, I said Auburn's the best team in the state. And I was like, I'm not changing it now. So when Thompson beat them, it was just they were hotter at the time. So it was like y'all got me. You know what I'm saying? So I was wrong about that one. In 6A, I didn't think Clay Chalkville was going to repeat. I thought it was some evident holes in their team, very youthful. So I didn't pick Clay. I was leaning more towards Saraland. I know some guys that I was talking to in the South Alabama area, they was complaining about, these guys don't have what it takes on the defensive side of the ball to kind of stick with, the Clay Chalkvilles or maybe the Parkers or whoever. But I thought that, regardless of not having Ryan Williams, I thought KJ Lacey was one of the best athletes in the state of Alabama, if not one of the best athletes in the nation. So I'm just like, he's definitely one of those guys where you can trust and believe that he's gonna make a play for you, and he's been doing that. So I feel like I was leaning more towards Saraland, and then my underrated team that I felt like can compete in the North was Oxford. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup. I really wasn't sold on Parker. I feel like they had to do some more things schematically to kind of shore up their offense. But nonetheless, don't get it twisted. They got, guys not named Naeem Offord that are really good. 6A is hard. 6A is hard to kind of like really. I'm not decided on 6A at this moment. I just had to see it. 5A, I felt like Moody was going to win it. I thought Moody was a really good team coming out the gate. They suffered 2 losses to Oxford and to Gainesville out of Georgia. So we know, well, in Gainesville, in Georgia, they have different level of football. And Gainesville was a really good team, coached by one of the best in all of the state at the time, Coach Niblett. He was at Hoover back when they was doing those 2-a-days and stuff like that as well. So that was the only 2 losses. And I mean, they were going, they've been going crazy. So Moody's still in there. For 4A, yes, I picked Jackson. They got some guys that compete at 7A. They got Landon Duckworth. He just recently decommitted from his school. He can probably pretty much play anywhere in the state of not state, but in the nation. He's one of those guys where he's ranked, I think like either top 5 or number 1 in his class. So they got, Xavier Crowell, running back, legitimate guy that can run in between tackles, catch the ball, do all the good stuff. Demarion Gordon, I think he's a UCF commit. Honestly, I mean, I'm seeing he's a Knight. So I'm like, he's either a Knight or he just committed. Yeah, I would say he's somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember seeing something that he committed there. But yeah, they got a lot of guys. So I had them for 4A. For 3A, I think I had Piedmont, and they're still in it. And then after that too, Elba's still in it. So I had Elba, Alvin Henderson. So he's still doing his thing. They're gonna have a good matchup though. I think if they play Watley, that's gonna be a game to watch. Ben, if you can go, you need to go to that game. Like, that game's gonna be lit. But yeah, I'm doing all right. I think the main one was just Auburn. Like, I was hell bent on Auburn winning the state championship, and I forgot about Thompson.
If you guys are tuning in, maybe we got some people in the locker room watching, getting that bulletin board material from CJ and wanting to prove him wrong. It
was pretty good. It was an all right game for Thompson.
We're going to give you a little rest here, and we'll come back to you here in just a minute. We'll go to Drew and Mark now, but first, I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first this week because I'm excited. I've been wanting to go out to Thomasville. We talk about Thomas County Central a lot on here. We had some people hit us up and they said, why haven't you ever come to Thomasville? We got some dogs too. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it out. I wanted to go to a game during the season that ended up getting canceled. So I was so glad to see that they were hosting a second round home playoff game this past weekend. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Jeremy Rayburn, the athletic director there. Welcomed me with open arms. It was an amazing atmosphere. Thomasville's a 1A school. Veterans Memorial Stadium is beautiful. Nice turf field. It was a great atmosphere, and they took on Temple. So it was 2 9-2 teams, and I felt like Thomasville had like the perfect game plan. Everything went right for them with the team they were matched up against because Temple is a run-heavy team. I mean, they're probably 90, 95 run. I think they might have thrown maybe 3 or 4 passes the entire game in that matchup. So if you're Thomasville, right, you want to put them in a hole, put them in a deficit. And they go up 28-3 at halftime. They struck for the first 14 points of the game. So things just really played out in Thomasville's favor. It was interesting. Temple, they ran this offense. I've never seen anyone do this before. I don't know if you guys have or not, but there was a lot of shifts, a lot of motion. And what they would do is they'd send someone in motion as if they were getting ready to snap the ball, and then they would look over to the sideline. And so Thomasville, you got to be really disciplined to not jump, for one, in that situation. And I thought they did a great job with that. I don't know that they had any offsides penalties the entire game. So shout out to Thomasville. And I got the chance to talk with 2026 quarterback Cam Hill and 2027 athlete AJ Hill. And AJ played safety. So just kind of talked to him about his preparation. He said obviously watched a lot of film, had to have a lot of good eye discipline. And he made some plays coming downhill from his safety spot. Also caught 2 touchdowns. So definitely wanted to spotlight A.J. Hill, man. I think he's a sleeper in South Georgia, that he's just getting started. I think he's a name to definitely know and look out for as his career continues to progress. And then Cam Hill, too, his older brother, 2026 quarterback. Talk about poise, man. This kid just lets the game come to him. Like, you see a lot of guys try and make plays. but he'll take what the defense gives him. I mean, there was a lot of short passes, a lot of checkdowns, and then when he saw the opportunity, he'd hit the downfield pass, and he was incredibly accurate, and he can also take off and run. So I really like Cam Hill's game. I think he's going to be key moving forward, and I think this Thomasville team has the pieces to make a run. They've got Dublin coming up next. Dublin's dominated the two teams that they've played in the playoffs so far, so that's going to be a fun matchup. But looking at some more Bulldogs that I want to spotlight, how about 2026 linebacker Joe Douglas? You look at stats, and, we talked about our guy from Florida earlier in the season that had all those tackles that led the country. And you see those numbers sometimes, and you're thinking, like, I don't know, over 100 tackles. I don't know about that, but it took maybe like 2 series for me to see Joe Douglas, and I'm like, okay, yeah, those were correct. This kid's everywhere around the ball. He's a force, and, he's playing against a team that's run heavy, so I know he was licking his chops, ready to line it up against this team. But I think he's got a game that really needs to be tapped into. I don't know if he has any offers just yet, but I think he's right on the cusp of that. I think this is a big offseason for him going into that senior year. Hit up some camps, put that junior season film out because you have a lot of it. So I'm excited to see what's to come for Joe Douglas. I think he's kind of a diamond in the rough there for Thomasville. They've got a bunch of dogs, man. If you're a college scout or a college coach, you need to get down to Thomasville and check out this team because there's a lot of 2025s that are uncommitted on the team as well. The one that impressed me the most, I think, was Ant Anderson. So Thomasville has 3 different running backs that got carries in the contest. And Ant Anderson was one who kind of came on in the second half and really became their bell cow. He was crazy down the stretch of the game, and he's their leading rusher in terms of yards per game on the season with 61.8. And then they've also got Levante Cole, who's a 2026 running back. He had 13 rushing touchdowns. I'm not sure when he sustained the injury, but he had a cast on his hand. So I don't know when that happened, but obviously as a running back, that kind of limits you a little bit. Can't switch hands. So he was limited in terms of the amount of carries that he got, but he's a guy that has a couple D1 offers, Cole. So I'm eager to see, how he continues to progress into this offseason. But Anderson, man, I really loved his game. He's powerful guy. There was a play where he carried like 5-6 defenders, and the refs let the play go on. So he's just dragging guys. So he kind of showed off his power there, but he's also elusive, right? Like, I don't think there was a single carry he had where he was brought down by the first defender. He's making guys miss and then making multiple defenders miss at that. So he was impressive. Got to give a shout out to EJ Bean as well, 2025 linebacker, a guy that's been all over the field making plays. I think he was tied for the team lead in tackles for loss during the regular season, but another guy who's not afraid to come down, stick his helmet in there, and he's a formidable duo with Joe Douglas. Really liked his game. I think he's going to be key moving forward also. And then you have 2025 wide receiver Messiah Wilson. So this guy, another Anderson-type player. Like, anytime he touches the ball, you're going to know he's on the field. And he started the game off, set the tone with the opening kickoff, got the Bulldogs into Temple territory right off the bat, right out of the gates with the big kick return. And then he had a couple screen passes where he made guys miss, had a jet sweep where he got free, got a first down, and then also caught a screen pass for a touchdown as well. So Messiah Wilson, all those 2025 guys that I mentioned, as far as I know, they are uncommitted. So definitely think they deserve some more love, more spotlight. And as Thomasville continues their playoff run, I think you're going to get to know these guys more. This Bulldogs team, we talked a lot about Thomas County Central, right, and their history, 6 state titles for them. Thomasville has 5 state championships in their history, and they've made it to the third round in 6 out of the last 8 years. So Thomas County and South Georgia, man, that's just a county that's full of gems, and I think doesn't get the love that they deserve. And Thomasville and Thomas County Central, they're going to be making some noise, I think, deep into the playoffs, but a big test coming up for the Bulldogs with Dublin. So that's what I've got for Georgia, South Georgia. Let's go to Drew now and talk a little bit about Florida.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, great job, guys. That's why we're here, right? To expose the unexposed. And some of these kids that you mentioned, and you college coaches need to get eyes on them, man, because they can be program builders at the D2 or lower D1 level. So for sure, a great way to start the show off. But round 2 out here in the Sunshine State for us, man, had to make my way down to Bryant Stadium. Shouts out to Coach Marvin Frazier and crew, man, taking over for the legendary Bill Castle. They're on the way to three-peat this year, but he didn't want to talk nothing about that after handling a tough Gaither team. But to keep these kids locked in, grounded, and prepared while they're pushing for this three-peat, shots out to them, man, because this Gaither team was talented on both sides of the ball, and they needed it. It was a close first half, 20-13. Lakeland kind of pulled away in the second half as they do, but if you guys were watching college football this week, they talked about it. If you watched the Ohio State and the Indiana game, it's about dudes, right? Some of these teams just got more dudes than the other team. So that's what it kind of boiled down to. Gaither's a well-coached squad, got some guys, but Lakeland kind of pulled away in the second half. And it starts with 2026 four-star linebacker Malik Morris. Guys, this kid is a man amongst boys. If you see my post this week, this kid is just huge, right? I'm like, he got to go to work after the game. You know what I mean? It's that type of kid. You feel me? But, man, he's already one of the better linebackers in the country. I'm sure you guys have heard of Malik Morris. But it's his versatility, right? Lakeland likes to put this guy at the running back position. Not too many kids want to meet this type of guy in the hole, right? So he finished the game with 2 rushing touchdowns, and the big play was a 42-yard fumble recovery that he took for a touchdown, a complete momentum swing for Lakeland. It was still pretty close, battling back and forth, but that defensive line is crazy. He ended up picking it up, taking it 42 yards for a touchdown. But I got to go to the other side, man. I got to give a shout-out to Gaither's 2025 quarterback, E.J. Archfield Jr., man. I put his interview up for you guys. It'll be out here pretty soon, man. But, guys, this kid just deserves the praise or some praise for what he's done at the prep level. He's a Delaware football commit, but he came over to Gaither this year, was embraced by the community, you know what I mean, took on that leadership role, was able to, show off his mobile abilities, his dual threat ability. So he's a leader. He just got that mentality, man. It's hard to play at Bryant Stadium, man. Them OGs be out in the crowd. They're going to yell at you. They're going to get under your skin. But it's great to see kids like this just stay composed, keep his kids willed in, go keep his guys willed in, and try to push for the win. So shouts out to him. Great family. Delaware is getting a good one in him for sure. Just a couple other shout-outs, man. 2026 Lakeland quarterback Chad Williams. He came over from Auburndale this offseason, but he's doing a hell of a job. Sometimes you come over in a new situation, you're not the starter, but it's great to see that quarterback that's hyping the starting quarterback up, right? Hyping the senior up, keeping the guys hyped up. And he finally got his chance, and it came in the playoffs, guys. And now he's starting over a pretty solid senior quarterback, and he's making the most of his opportunities. If you know the Dreadnoughts, they're a run-heavy team. They're going to run the ball right at you. But when you got a guy like this that can stretch the field, natural lefty, put the ball, great ball placement, he's got a bright future ahead for Lakeland, and he's a 2026, so they'll have him coming back for next year. Got to give a shout out to Lakeland guy, Jordan Henderson, man, cutback hack. He's actually made the most of his opportunities as well. Like I said, Lakeland going to keep a steady horse of running backs. But this kid, when you can do it all, you got the full package as a running back, run between the holes, breakout speed, can block for your quarterback, and you can catch the ball at the backfield. That's one thing he did this Friday that's really good, just expanded that offense as well. So shouts out to Jordan Henderson. Dealt with some injuries, but he deserves a spotlight. Of course, man, I can shout out the entire Lakeland defense, man. The defensive line is crazy, 3 stars all around. The secondary, 3-4-star kids. Keon Young got an interception. I think Kayvon McKinley had one as well. Jermichael Gillis, USF commit. It's just guys all over the field when you come out to watch Bryant Stadium. I love my Texas guys, right? But, man, this Florida football kind of turns it up in this playoff time, man. You start seeing these stars come out. So, no, that was definitely a good game this week. Shouts out to Lakeland. Might get my eyes on them again because Tampa Bay Tech, we could talk about that too. They took down Edgewater, man. What a game out there. They was talking crazy out here back and forth. People thought, Tampa Bay Tech couldn't hang with Edgewater, but they took them down. So they'll be matching up with Lakeland this next week. So hey,
that's gonna be
it's talking cash money out here, bro.
Mark, let's go to you. Let's go to the Lone Star State now. I know things are heating up there, and we've had some crazy finishes, crazy games. So who kind of stood out to you this past week?
Well, I went over to check out North Crowley and Desert Permian. Desert Permian, Friday Night Lights, the book, the series, the movie. When you get a chance to see that particular team live and in my backyard, I had to go check them out. Of course, they're taking on a juggernaut and top 10 ranked national team in North Crowley. It wasn't close from the get-go. North Crowley put up 72 points. They could have put up 100 if they wanted to. This was the most points ever scored on a Desert Permian team in a playoff game. But it was business as usual for North Crowley. Got a chance to catch up with Quentin Gibson. Of course, I know you guys have seen all the highlights and things about Q. Got a chance to chop it up with him a little bit after the game. And it's business as usual. This guy's averaging almost 170 yards receiving a game now. It didn't take very long for him to get in the end zone. I want to say within 2 minutes he was moseying in the end zone, just quick. He makes it look easy, and I asked him about it, and I know it's not easy, but the way he's so smooth and the way he glides, it makes it look easy. And he's one of those guys that when he gets in open space, it's a wrap. Chris Jemison Jr. is spinning the ball like none other. I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in the state, definitely. Just looks like he's just having an easy time and spinning it. When you can see that heavy rotation out of the ball from afar, you know that he can spin it. These guys are one of the best teams in the country. But I want to talk about one guy on the defensive side. Of course, they got Texas commit and Deuce Cunningham. I had a chance to talk with him after the game as well. But Jabril Ashbury was the standout for me. He was on every tackle from the Mike linebacker position, plays from sideline to sideline. He checks off all the boxes that you want in today's linebacker. He can cover, he can blitz. It just seems like every tackle he was on it. And I kept watching 0, 0, 0. This guy is amazing. I think that, college coaches really need to take a strong look at this guy. He's got offers from Prairie View, Lamar, Navarro Junior College, Mississippi Valley State. But I think that he can play at a P4 school if he gets the right opportunity. He was on every tackle almost, and he's the leader on that defense. And I think that's a big reason that North Crowley won that game is because they shut down one of the top running backs in black that came in. He actually broke the yardage single season record for Desert Permian, a single season touchdown for Desert Permian this year. But, everything looked black when he got in the hole because of Ashbury. Listen, he was there on every tackle. And I thought that he played a very, very good game. And that was my defensive standout for the game. But North Crowley's got a big test this week against Capel. Edward Griffin and those guys undefeated as well. Harry Hassman just committed to Arizona State, one of the top receivers for Griffin. That's a third round game that'll be Saturday in Mansfield that I'll probably be taking a look at as well. The other game that I went to, I drove down to Waco yesterday and watched South Oak Cliff in Huntsville. If you know anything about South Oak Cliff, it's business as usual. Huntsville got stranded on death row. And when I say death row, that's the mantra that they take on defensively for South Oak Cliff. 7 points allowed. It was a 38-7 game. If you know anything about South Oak Cliff, they want to run the football. And I think that they got established the offensive line, established the line of scrimmage early, and they went to work. Shout out to Carter Kopecki. I think he doesn't get enough love. He's the quarterback. Really manages the game very, very well. He picks his spots. And he's an elite runner as well. And he's had a chance to be in that South Oak Cliff system for 3 years, and now he's getting his opportunity to start and lead the Golden Bears to the third round. They face Marshall this weekend, this Friday in Tyler, Texas. Should be a very, very good game. But shout out to Coach Todd and those guys over there. It's business as usual when you see South Oak Cliff. I had a chance to see them against North Shore the first game of the year, and it wasn't close, by the standards of what you see on the scoreboard. But if you know anything about these guys, they plan for the long haul. It's just not about what they do early in the season. And they seem to be hitting their stride right now. And I really like South Oak Cliff as coming out of 5AD2 to get to the championship.
Yeah, I love Sox mentality when they make the schedule, man. They'll play anyone. It doesn't matter, year in and year out. And obviously it pays dividends come the postseason. So before we sign off, we're going to turn our attention a little bit. You see there on the screen at the bottom, the Platform Under the Lights podcast is powered by DR Sports. And we're not wishing away high school football season because it's just getting good. But, hey, in about a month and a half, we're going to be turning our attention to DR7 and the DR7 circuit. In year 4, you'll see all 4 of us at DR7 tournaments this year, 7-on-7 tournaments, that is. And we feel like DR7, and the proof is kind of in the pudding, the numbers don't lie, is the most elite competitive 7-on-7 circuit, not just 18U, not just 15U, 8U, all the way to 18U. We give exposure for the young fellas. We write articles, we do interviews, we do mic'd ups. It's a lot of fun. And so I wanted to kind of chop it up with you guys a little bit about what you're most looking forward to and kind of what makes DR7 tournaments different. So, CJ, I know you're excited to be able to come back. And this is a unique opportunity because it helps those kids in Alabama kind of have a platform to where they could ball out and get recognized.
Yeah, for sure. I think this one thing that I noticed last year, especially, I got a chance to see a lot more of the kids that I cover during the season, off season. It really kind of, brightened up my mood when I got a chance to see that last year, because I didn't feel like, when I went back from year 2 to 3, it was like, man, I was sharing so much knowledge and information with the kids and coaches from Alabama that I'm just like, hey, Texas is doing this, Florida is doing this, Georgia's doing this, like there's so much other, competition that, we need to get out of our own head and out of our own way, per se, to kind of, shed light on Alabama talent. And I think that year, that's when we saw one of the best championship Super Sevens that we had. I mean, like I said before, we got the emergence of, KJ Lacey. We got the emergence of Mario Craver, that's now committed to, or now playing at Mississippi State, Jalen Mbakwe. We've seen a lot of different guys that was balling on a major scale, major level, that I was absolutely proud to be a part of and kind of plant that seed around the state of Alabama. Like I said, going forth now is just all about getting these guys that are, class 27, class 26, into some of these circuits and some of these, these games, so they can test their skills. That's my main thing. Wanting to see those guys, not just, during the season when they're playing, region opponents, or in the playoffs when they might only see those teams one time per year, but actually getting a chance to get outside the box, outside the grid, and basically playing guys like, EJ from Florida, from, that area that I've seen before that's balling out. And now he's starting to step up a little bit more, and, just kind of balancing those, those states out a little bit more, because I feel like we got top 5 talent here. I just don't feel like we get talked about enough. We get kind of, and I feel like in the same breath, we get kind of in the Louisiana type talk, like we're like right there, but we're not top 5 yet, or kind of, we're borderline top 5 behind, of course, the Calis, the Georgias, the Floridas, the Texas, and all that type of stuff. But we're climbing. And that's one thing that I feel like when we start to see our state leaders like, Alvin Henderson, that, is number 1 in the state in rushing yards. Of course, he got the offers. Of course, he's committed. But, what about the guy that's right underneath him that, plays 2A ball, or maybe even 4A ball, that, like I said, for example, we got one kid up here. His name is Cameron Fazine, class 2026 running back, top 5 in rushing yards. Mm-hmm. And they literally play a brand or a style of football that's unique to them. And he basically totes rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's back-to-back seasons with over 2,500 rushing yards. So I'm just like, he's a guy that, I would like to see get in the circuits, and like to see, get national attention instead of statewide attention, because I think that he just got a UNA offer, Murray State offer. And it's just like, hey, let's see what you stack up against national talent. That way we can really evaluate and really get you out there. It's one thing, of course, to be state level known, but it's another thing, as you can tell, when KJ Lacey, that perks your ears up. You know what I'm saying? When Jalen Mbakwe, it kind of perks your ears up. So I think that's something that we're still working on. It's something that I pride myself on trying to bridge the gap between whatever platforms I'm on through Unlock Your Game, for DR7, and everywhere else. So I think that's something that I really look forward to. Can't wait to get back in the fold and just sharing that knowledge and bringing back that knowledge from DR7 to the state of Alabama.
Drew and Marc really head up the platform. They're active all over the fields, writing articles, going back to the hotel, staying up till 2, 3 in the morning to spotlight the kids. And I think that's really what separates us from the other circuits. Drew and Marc, we'll start with you, Drew. Do you want to kind of speak on that a little bit, and how that makes us different than the other circuits that are out there?
Yeah, I'll kind of answer the question in 2 parts. I guess from a scouting standpoint, I truly enjoy, getting my eyes on the kids from various states, right, wherever it's at, and kind of comparing them to, I guess, Florida kids or whatever. But that gets me going just from the scouting standpoint, just getting my eyes on kids from different states. But from a business standpoint, I guess what does separate us, is getting our eyes on even kids from 8U to 18U. Like you said, this is the fastest growing 7v7 company not just 18U, but all the way down. So we get to see these kids throughout their careers, not just high school, even just from starting to the middle school level. So I think that separates us for sure. I don't know anybody, or I do know people, but I don't know many people who's grinders like these three guys on the screen right here. You know what I mean? These very boots on the ground. So very network type of guys, know how to evaluate the kids. So definitely cut our skin in the game that way. But like I said before, when you get your eyes on kids from 12U to 14U and then to 15 to 18, and you get to scout them throughout their whole process, and they know you, they know your face, and they know DR Sports, that's what's going to end up separating us when we keep to build this thing, when we expand this thing even more. So definitely, I'll keep it brief, Ben, but that's one of the two things I think I wanted to chime in on.
I think the main thing, I don't mean to cut you off, Ben. I think the main thing from a standpoint of all three of us, all four of us up here, really engaging and being impactful for our communities. I think that's something that, we very much pride ourselves on in our areas and things like that. I know for sure, just knowing, how kids want more in our area, come to the circuits, perform in the circuits. And I'm pretty sure that your name is going to be not only statewide known, but you see that we got different areas covered here, and we're very passionate about what we do. And like I said, that just like you said, Drew, you get to know our faces, you get to know our personalities. I think that personality sells what we do as well. So I'm just like, we're really good guys, really want to build on top of what we've done here for the platform DR Sports as well, and just overall want guys that are underrated. I think we serve the underrated community well and beyond a lot of other circuits and a lot of other platforms as well. That's really, I feel like, where we do our best work, getting the underrated guys out there.
Really, let me say something really quick. Let me add on to that real quick, Mark. One thing DR Sports does do well, right? Going around to different tournaments and whatnot, you kind of see 7v7 is kind of like AAU ball, where it's starting to get watered down, right? Where it's kind of more head top, kind of more highlight clips, and kind of more physical contact, right, between the kids and the teams. But one thing DR Sports is about is competition, right? That's one thing I've learned working with this company is it does make you compete, and it makes you show off things that you're going to have to use throughout the season. So when we evaluate these wide receivers, these quarterbacks, it's not a lot of just throw the ball up, you know what I mean? They're trying to move the rock, you know what I mean? They're 5-0, they're dissecting, they're going through their reads. So DR Sports, you're gonna have to come and compete. That's one thing we do. That's one thing we want to say, right? So definitely wanted to add that on to what CJ was saying.
Here's it in a nutshell. Guys always, my DMs are full all the time, every week, especially now that some of these guys, the 2025s are done playing. We're in the playoffs. Coach Marc, and I respond to some of these in a different way. How do I get a write-up? How do I get exposure? Can you put me in front of coaches? Can you DM this? And do you know a coach here? If you want to get exposed, come and get in front of the right eyes. The correct exposure is the exposure that you need. And then listen, the work is the work. You're coming out and you're competing, being in a competitive environment. The thing about a DR Sports or a DR7 tournament is you're going to have to play back to back to back. How do you get into a fresh environment like that? You protect yourself in a competitive environment, and how do you perform? That's the thing that you get from a DR7 or a DR Sports event is you're going to come and have to play, and you're going to play against kids that you do not know and aren't familiar with. When you go to college, guys, this is the type of environment that you have to be in. You're going to be coached a different way. You're going to play against guys that you haven't seen. How do you make adjustments on the fly? How do you make an adjustments from man coverage to cover 3 to cover 2? Are you playing press? What are you doing right in the fire? Come and get the exposure at a DR7 tournament. That's what we do. At the platform, we expose the unexposed. We look for the hidden gems because there are guys out there that don't get seen. Like there are guys that play, like CJ was saying, at the smaller 2A level, 3A level. A lot of times during the regular season, there are not guys like us at that game. We cover it all. We're not just looking for the big guy. But if you ball, you get the call. It's pretty plain and simple. If you come to a DR7 tournament and you stand out, there's going to be somebody that talks to you. But you have to put yourself in the right position to perform. If you want the exposure, if you want to be seen, come to a DR7 tournament. We're going to Arizona, we're going to Florida, we're going to Georgia, we're going to Illinois. You know, if you come out and you ball, you definitely going to get the call.
I love it, guys. Any closing thoughts before we sign out here?
I got one, brother, really quick, because 7v7, you know, it's still kind of, it's not fairly new, but it's still a new thing. They didn't have it when I was playing, right? So the question around is, you know, can kids get scholarship offers, or can kids get offers for performing at 7v7 tournaments? Well, when you come to a DR Sports tournament, as I mentioned, it's not just throw the ball up, Hail Marys. Kids are able to show off techniques and tendencies, right? So when we evaluate these kids, they're real scouting reports, right? They're real evaluations of what kids can do on Friday nights, which is why we add this element as well. And CJ mentioned it earlier. We get to watch the kids from the off season to Friday nights, how they perform throughout the 7v7 circuit and how they perform on Friday nights. So when you come to DR7, you're getting evaluated, right? And you're going to have to compete, and you're going to have to show off skill sets that, you know, college coaches aren't going to be able to evaluate after we put out write-ups, after we put out interviews and content that we want to put exposure on these kids. So definitely wanted to add that piece. Kids might not get a scholarship from a 7v7 tournament, but when you get in front of the right eyes, as Mark mentioned, and you show off these certain traits and we put it out there for people to evaluate, it's opportunities, man.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate CJ for joining us, talking a little Alabama high school football. Things are just heating up. I will say we will not have a show next week, so don't panic. We'll be back the following week to recap the state playoffs, how things are going. So don't make sure you stay tuned, and we'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Hit that like and subscribe. Marc's got us. And check out the platform website, theplatformdr.com. For CJ, Marc, and Drew, I'm Ben. We'll see y'all next time right here on the DR Sports YouTube channel.